Hello, everybody, and welcome to Firefly Chats, the show where we talk all things The Last of Us. I am your host, James D. Keegan, and it's a bit bittersweet because we're talking about the season 1 finale of HBO's The Last of Us. But I cannot do it alone, so let me get my lovely guests for this evening on the screen. First up, he is known as the Ginger Geordie Geek. It's Peter.
Aye, you all right?
I'm good, man. I'm. This is one of the episodes I've been most looking forward to talking about because this is like a huge topic of debate for the last decade.
I think this episode's going to get spicy, James, because I was filming with Efren earlier on, and me and him have some thoughts, some strong views on the moral dilemmas of this episode. So
I'm excited to hear it. And speaking of Efren, here he is.
What is going on? The Last of Us Familia final episode of the season. I am so glad, James, you introduced me to this show. You know, like I said, Peter and I, we talked about it briefly. We did another video right before this one. We got a lot of opinions about a certain character in this show.
I'm very very excited to hear that. And I'm just happy like it seems to be gelling with everybody. I've kind of gushed about this thing too for so long, so that warms my heart. Next up, the mythical beast himself. It's Luke.
Hi guys, you all right?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, all good. Really excited to talk about this episode.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be a good one. Next up, we have GP Venom. Heyo! What's going on, man?
All good.
All
good. Get started.
Is this one you've been looking forward to? Is it?
Will he not get a copyright for going AO, James? Is that not?
I've got enough with them, Pete. I've got enough with them. I don't want any more.
Absolutely. And of course, the last of us, but not the least of us, it's everybody's favorite attention-seeking geek.
Did somebody say spicy?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, good. I've tried to out green Peter today with my backdrop, but you somehow got algae everywhere in your room.
It's radiation from the hair.
I wish I was that dedicated. So we have as you said, a spicy episode to get to today, so we'll get straight to it. But first up, just a couple of little bits of news. There was quite a lot of like season 2 talk, so I'll leave that to the end. But in the meantime, just a couple of bits about the game series. So The Last of Us Online, I believe it's going to be called, is the Last of Us multiplayer game that's going to be. We're going to see more about that this year. Neil Druckmann confirmed. GP, is that something you'd be interested in playing?
The multiplayer, yeah, I think I would. I'd love to see an open world version of it.
Yeah, I think it might go like battle royale style, like Fortnite kind of thing. It'd be cool, but I really want to see like PvP and then like clickers thrown in there as well. You know, where you have to.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see. I'm really excited about this. Like Naughty Dog is one of the best game developers of all time, so to see their like them focus fully on the multiplayer game, I think is really exciting. And then Naughty Dog has chosen their next game. They're working on it at the moment, but they have not confirmed whether it is The Last of Us Part 3 or not.
It's gonna be though.
I don't know. They said the way he phrased it was like we went with the one we were most excited about, and I'm like, that sounds like a new kind of thing to me.
James, just confirm for it. So am I right in thinking there's The Last of Us 2, and then the downloadable content one? What was that one called again?
Left Behind.
Left Behind. Is that all of the games in the Last of Us universe?
Yeah, and then Left Behind is only like a 2-hour thing. That's but there is a multiplayer mode in the original game. So this is like this multiplayer one started as the multiplayer for Part 2, and they just said, oh, we just kind of put so much into it that it grew bigger and bigger, and we decided to release as a separate thing. So like it's been 3 years now nearly since The Last of Us Part 2 came out, so like they've been working on it full tilt for a long time, so I think it's really going to blow people away. So I'm really excited about that. But like The Last of Us 3, I think it will be their game after their next one if it isn't their next one. So, HBO will want more content to put out, so yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen. So episode 9, the season finale. We'll talk a bit more at the end about like kind of how you feel this is, like if it's a satisfying ending or not. But just as for the episode itself, like just as this kind of self-contained thing. How did you feel about this one? So, Peter, we'll start with you.
I loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a very neat little package of an episode. I think there's a lot to talk about in terms of character decisions and things. Also of television, I thought it summed up the series very well. And again, I know you'll probably talk about this later on, James, in terms of the computer game. I kind of think I might have been happy to just leave it there. I'm worried now that part 2's crap and it spoils what could be quite a nice ending. That makes sense.
I mean, I completely agree. Like, I didn't really want a part 2. A lot of people didn't want a part 2 if there was going to be a second game, follow new characters and leave these guys where they are. But we did get one, and I think it's amazing. But it's divisive, and I'm not sure everybody here is going to like it. So, like, we'll talk a bit more about kind of where season 2 might go later. But yeah, you're on the money there, Peter. Efren.
I'm going to quote Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. Peter knows this. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. I thought about this quote when I was watching this episode, and we'll talk about it more. But I mean, I enjoyed the episode, but just as what he's done, I just don't agree.
And I believe Efren, just to confirm, that was Spock speaking to Kirk.
Oh, Spock speaking, yes.
Just because I know people will be interested. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Better probably go and watch that quote, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A very poignant quote, I think, to use for this one. Luke, you kind of were in the ballpark when you predicted kind of where the show was going to go in the end. So was this kind of were you happy to see some of that kind of come to fruition?
Yeah, so it was very close to what I had predicted, but it wasn't so close that it took away any enjoyment for me. It wasn't like it was too predictable or anything. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It was the shortest episode, I think, out of the entire season.
43 minutes.
So when I saw that, I was like, really, okay, how are they going to do this? How are they going to complete this show in that amount of time? But yeah, they did it. I was entertained throughout. And, I can't wait to tell Efren how wrong he is later down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben.
Very good. Second best episode for me of the series. I think Peter said it about it kind of almost encompassing the whole show. That this episode felt like it represented everything that we've kind of just experienced over the last few weeks. So it almost felt like a pilot, like for the next series and for this series in general. So yeah, just a real kind of memorable sort of climax, a fucking infuriating ending that I'm still upset about. Just good stuff. Good stuff.
You mentioned
sorry, you can't beat a memorable climax, Ben, can you?
Don't ask me.
What I aim for every time.
Yeah. But you mentioned last week about the kind of David episode feeling like it came too late in the show. Is that something you still feel now after seeing this final one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think like it's at least mental state is.
I'm stubborn, James.
That's
about me. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. GP, someone familiar with the source material? How'd you feel?
Yeah. Although I did enjoy this episode, I feel I could have made it a bit longer and added in some other stuff from the game, a bit more action. Because it was in the last hour of the game, there's a lot.
Yeah. There's kind of a whole
when they go under the water, the underwater bit, and
I would have loved.
I would love to see that in, but yeah, I enjoyed it. They did the ending really well.
Yeah, so, I think so as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it should be because it's like word for word, effectively.
Basically,
last 10 minutes, basically, of the show. So, yeah. All right, let's get to it scene by scene. So we open with this pregnant woman running through the woods. Did anybody kind of click right away who you thought this was going to be?
So I did, purely because, and I'm just going to say this because it really pisses us off, because I'd seen, not spoilers, but casting images all over the bloody internet. So not spoilers, but kind of, this is the lady from the video game, yeah?
Yeah, this is Ashley Johnson. She plays Ellie in the game.
So as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, bollocks, they've spoiled that for us. But what I would say is, My wife hadn't seen that, and she kept saying to us, "Is that Ellie in the future?" Because she looks quite like her. I was
She does,
surprised
doesn't
that
she? Yeah,
she didn't
yeah,
let her look physically, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a
Absolutely.
great scene.
Yeah. I thought so too. So yeah, this is Anna. This is Ellie's mom. Now she's not a character in the games. We know her name, but we don't ever see her. Really know much about her. So this is all completely new. Now there is in Uncharted 4 a poster on one of the characters' walls of this comic book called The Last of Us American Daughters. So apparently they were going to do this. This was originally going to be like an animated short that released alongside the game where they show kind of Ellie's mom and how Ellie became immune. And then that got scrapped and they were going to do a comic book and then that got cancelled. So it's just been kind of this lingering question really for a very long time with the series, but they decided to put it in here. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great kind of way of expanding the universe of the game. And to me, like this is all canon to the games. You know, this is how I'm going to think about it when I play them again. GP is a new kind of thing. Were you happy to see something like this?
I was, yeah. It's good to get a bit of a backstory, and with Ellie being the Daywalker now.
Yeah. It's Blade, isn't it? It's the same.
It is. But it was great to see Ashley Johnson to get a part in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's nice, like as you know, she figuratively gave birth to Ellie. You know, in those games, and it's nice to see her like literally do it on the screen.
Definitely.
But of course, yeah, absolutely. So she's kind of runs into this house. We see kind of Ellie's knives. That's kind of the first kind of little hint, and then this infected banging on the walls, and it comes in again. I think they're used sparingly, but the infected in this show are absolutely terrifying. I think they're like a step above the usual kind of zombie things that you see. Would everybody kind of agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, even in the cinematography and everything. So she kills it, and then she gives birth to Ellie. Now we only just got from another HBO show with House of the Dragon like a gross birthing scene. So I don't know, is there like a producer or something?
And you're leaving it on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, James, have you witnessed the birth? All birth scenes are gross.
I have not, and I don't intend to. I have a weird thing with umbilical cords as well. Like I just don't like them. Yeah, I think gross.
So
yeah, I remember my son was born, and that's me if I wanted to cut it, and I was like, no.
So when I did my when I did my nurse training, you had to do a period of time in maternity as well. So I had to go into the birthing areas and watch it. And I was asked to check the placenta. So the placenta comes out on the end of the umbilical cord and goes out of the bucket. Yeah. And then you have to put your hands in and check it to make sure it's all still there. It was wrong. I just thought I'd add that.
James,
all the money in the world wouldn't get me to do that. Yes, Luke.
I have a question. It might seem a really strange one, but because I don't know the actress, I do want to ask it. We've already said, this actress looks a lot like the girl who plays Ellie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just a coincidence, or is that actually have they used some sort of CGI modification here to make her look more similar? Because again,
no, it's just a coincidence.
It's just a coincidence.
I was listening to the Last of Us podcast with Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin on it, talking about it, and they said like they didn't even really realize that they looked so similar until they had them kind of together, like they met behind the scenes kind of beforehand. So yeah, it's just a coincidence, but something I didn't even think about when she was cast. But in retrospect, I think it was kind of obvious.
I was just going to ask you a quick question, James.
Yeah.
And the other lads won't get this, but do you think this is the farmhouse?
I didn't even consider that. That'd be a bit of a coincidence, wouldn't it?
Because they had the tractor out the front, didn't they?
Maybe it's a visual reference. I wouldn't.
Maybe.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I think it's a farmhouse.
It is a farmhouse. Yeah,
the farmhouse.
But I love the way like she's also sweary. So you see, like it's almost genetic the way like Ellie just says, like swears all the time. Yeah. Efren, were you a fan of this kind of intro?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be her, the mom, and this actress, Ashley Johnson, she's been around for a long time.
She has
Growing Pains back in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, she was back then. You might recognize her from the Avengers. She's in the first Avengers.
Yes, she was in the first Avengers.
She's that waitress that got most of her scenes.
The waitress.
Yeah, the one that kind of like
She was on a TV show with the actress Sif, Jamie Alexander too, a couple of years ago. I forgot, it was on ABC here. I forgot the name of the
I know the show you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, she was on that show too. Yeah,
but she's a fantastic actress. She's so nice.
She is.
Wait,
if any of you is a D&D fan, she also does Critical Role on YouTube. She's a big D&D fan.
Yeah,
I watched that. My son watches that.
Yeah,
goes on for like 3 years.
It does. Yeah, she's kind of. There's a lot of voice actors. A lot of people from the series actually take part in that Critical Role thing. So yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So we get to this next scene, and somebody pointed out. I saw a comment on like a video. Somebody pointed out that they like emerge from the woods like real fireflies, with like the lights of them. It's like supposed to be reminiscent of that. Anyone pick up on that? No.
If I had a big straw to put on top of the screen right now.
I don't know. Somebody said it, and I was like, "Oh, I guess so." But like, it's not. I don't know. Maybe that's just a coincidence. But yeah, we see Marlene. So did everybody kind of remember? Now I was watching this, and I was like, "Is this the same actress?" I almost like was like, "Did they de-age her? Is there something like they just make her look younger amazingly somehow?"
We're just gonna ignore Ben's only funerals and horses.
Yeah.
I was planning. Did we all clock right away that this was the?
No, your question, James. I looked straight to Alona and said, "Is that the woman from the first episode?" Because I couldn't remember what she looked like, if I'm honest.
Yeah. But even me, like familiar with this actress, like I was looking at, I was like, "Is that a different actress to get younger actress?" But no, it's just her. I don't know what it was. But yeah, so she comes in to see kind of Anna with Ellie. And the way she says, like, I could have before, so it's just lying up front, that like, I was bitten after I gave birth, and like you can tell, kind of Marlene doesn't really believe her, but like the way she kind of emphasizes it, and it's almost sort of reflects the ending, I think, in a way, the kind of somebody lying to someone and you going, okay, even though it's not true, Yeah. But there is. I mean, I tell you, we're gonna get existential in this in this episode. Yeah, but yeah. So she says to take her to Boston, find someone that make sure she's safe. She goes to the knife and everything, so kind of sets her up perfectly. Her name's Ellie, and so they're kind of lifelong friends, which is something that's kind of alluded to in the games. But the fact that she like asked her to kill her and she says no initially, that was like really like, oh shit.
Yeah, I shouted out loud at that point. I was like, that is not the right thing to be doing. If someone's asking you for it, saying that you just refuse to help her when she's asking you to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and knowing the horrible thing that's gonna happen to her, it's like you're gonna have to, So so we see a little baby Ellie, the gunshot, and then we cut to modern day. So like clearly the experience with David has like had a lasting impact on Ellie, which of course like it's probably the most horrific thing she's ever gone through. I really love, and it's sort of in the game, but like I don't think it emphasizes as much, that it's sort of a reversal of how they meet initially, because Ellie just doesn't shut up at the start and Joel like just wants her to stop talking, and yet now Ellie won't say anything and Joel just won't shut up, like, and the way he's like, it's almost like a bit desperate, the way he's like, hey, I got this thing, and hey, you play Boggle, and it's just so like so strange, like to just like seeing that kind of change in Joel.
I think you've go ahead, Peter.
Sorry, you've made this thing there, because when I watched this, I didn't really click to the horrific incidents of last episode. I thought she was like this because she realized the journey was coming to an end and she was going to be separated from Joel. That's kind of how I read it. Not that she was thinking of everything else that had happened.
Yeah. Okay. Did anyone else feel that way?
I read it like trauma, instant, the trauma from what just happened. Yeah.
I found this quite hard to actually watch. I was watching it and thinking she's not the same girl anymore, and like my heart was breaking for her. And to see Joel really trying to like connect with her and to bring her out of it, me and my wife just kept looking over at each other and just saying like, it's such a shame, because she started off being really annoying, but now you would give anything just to hear her laugh and smile again.
Absolutely,
like, it was a tough watch. I was quite upset for her.
Yeah, definitely. And you even have this, like, she was like, oh, I want to hear you sing some point. And he says, I haven't sung in a while. Like, I'll teach you how to play guitar. And she's like, not even listening. This is everything that Ellie beforehand would have wanted. And she just doesn't care.
Hey, James, go back 2 slides over 2 slides.
There's 99 slides, Efren.
Okay.
Go
This
on,
guy,
go on.
this
101
guy had
now.
one job. He says cover her ears, and he didn't cover her ears.
I did think that.
Have you just been fuming about that for the last like six minutes?
Oh my God! Cover her damn ears. She's a baby. She was just born.
Yeah,
You know, and then
100% deaf now.
yeah, and I just think Ellie knows what's going to happen to her. That's like she's quiet and just really serious. I think she has like almost saying, "I'm going to die." If there's a cure, something's going to happen to me. I think that's why she's so quiet.
Yeah. You think that's why she's afraid of dying from like what's at the end of this? Because like they don't even know if they get to the hospital that there's going to be anybody there. They don't necessarily know it's coming to an end themselves, because they've been at several points throughout the show where, we have to get to here and then to here and then to here, and just the end line, finish line keeps moving, So I don't really feel that. I think that's something maybe you might think because that this is the last episode. But yeah, so it's this kind of similar thing in the game where like Joel's kind of trying to talk to her and says, "Oh, I'll teach you to play guitar," and Ellie's not talking to you, and you do notice it because like usually this is a consistent back and forth all the time, so it's like it's clearly very out of character. I like this little joke that like Joel makes as well. Like again, just he's almost a completely different character in this episode, Yeah, they're gonna cut through the buildings. I found some dynamite. So yeah, this kind of pushes her up the ladder thing, and she's kind of runs away. This is straight out of the game. Like you often boost people up. That's like a mechanic in the game to like grab a ladder or do something. And you go and do the boost, like you press the button to do it, and you're there for like a couple extra seconds, and you're like, wait, what? And then she just doesn't come, and you have to go looking for her, but she eventually does, and then she just throws the ladder down. So similar to the game.
I'm gonna throw it out there. This series has never made me not want to play a game more, because there's an awful lot of walking around, giving someone a lift, like touching this button. Like there's not a lot happens in terms of gaming mechanics. Like I'm wondering like how much action is in the games as opposed to.
I can hear James's heart breaking.
Like most of the game, Ben. This show deletes like almost all the action sequences. Okay. Like there's only a select.
I'll allow it.
Throughout, like at this stage in the game, Joel's probably killed 300-400 people. Ellie's killed about 60 or 70 at this stage.
It's a very different show.
You're killing infected and people like all the time. It's constant. So I just highlight this because this is a reference to a game mechanic that is in the game. So that's potentially why. But we get to.
I would have turned it off and put Crash Bandicoot on.
Yeah. Well, Crash Bandicoot is from the same company that made this game. Actually, there you go. Intentional, yeah. So we get to, and this is like one of the most iconic scenes in the video game, but the giraffe.
Kept the giraffe.
Yeah, kept the giraffe. This is a real giraffe. I'm shocked. Like I thought this CG looks amazing. Like, but they actually
that's the first thing I thought was the CG looked brilliant.
They got an actual giraffe, which is kind of crazy. You don't see shows do that often with a kind of exotic animal like that. I'm just gonna go one by one because this is like a lot of people quote this as their favorite scene in the entire game. So it's often the one that people say they broke down crying at, because it's sort of like you go through the game and a lot of the story is like moments of happiness that are cut short, and this is just kind of a purely beautiful moment that doesn't. So Peter, how do you feel about the giraffe scene?
Yeah, it was great. I'm surprised at how surprised you are that they've got a real giraffe. I mean, real giraffes are all over the place. I've fed giraffes before. They've got weird tongues. But yeah, it was a very nice scene. This isn't the scene that made me cry. I did cry, but this isn't the scene that made me cry. But yeah, it was a lovely scene. And am I right in thinking, James, that there's a message from the writers or something on the billboard at one point?
So there is a developer who threw in like his wife's name on like a billboard for
and they kept it in this, apparently. I read
they recreated like just by coincidence. I don't think he actually knew or they knew that was a reference, but he was like, oh my god, this thing I just did like snuck into the game is on like the biggest show on TV at the moment. So yeah, it's a funny thing. Efren, how do you think about this giraffe scene?
I enjoyed this scene because one, the most important thing, it makes them act human. She was a kid again for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Joel was like almost like a proud father looking at her and having just having some fun and normalcy in their lives, so to speak. Thought it was very well done scene.
Yeah. Luke?
I still get this excited when I see a giraffe. I love them. I think they're amazing animals. But yeah, there's I don't want to get too far ahead, but there's a scene later on where we see a mural on the wall, a painting, and it's not a giraffe. And I feel like they missed a trick.
I have a slide for that, Luke, because I thought the exact same thing, that they could have done something there. Yeah. But we'll get to that. But you're happy you enjoyed this?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah, like, to be honest, I just it just made me kind of stop and appreciate giraffes for 5 minutes. They're amazing, aren't they? Right? Like I like turned to my wife and properly, I like paused it. I think I was like, giraffes are fucking weird, right? Like, like we search for like aliens, and sci-fi comes up with like these alien creatures and stuff, and it's just like, look at the state of that. Like,
it's like a dinosaur, really, isn't it? It's like one of the closest things
about on our planet. It's bizarre. But yeah, so as I've got distracted here, I got distracted when I was watching it, and I just thought about giraffes. No, of course it was it was a beautiful, it was a lovely kind of moment, and kind of almost like the sort of serenity and beauty of like it. For me, I kind of read it as like how if nature did have the opportunity to take over again, how actually better that might be, than the Tories. I don't know.
We're getting political. This is spicy. GP, did you think this kind of perfectly captured the?
Yeah, I'm glad they kept it in. Obviously, being in the game, and then you do get giraffe iconography throughout the game. There's little Easter eggs to it. But yeah, it's just a beautiful scene, seeing Ellie smile again after the trauma.
Well, exactly. And I think the point of the scene is also like it's telling Joel like she will be okay. Like things will get back to normal. This isn't permanent. It's gonna be.
Look how happy Pedro is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just nice to see the two of them smile as well.
Absolutely.
It's not very common on the show.
There is enough with your screenshots. You're very good at capturing the moment.
Man, I like when a gunshot goes off, I have to go over a scene like 5, 6 times to catch the flash, like the muzzle flash. I put effort in here.
That's called OCD.
Yeah, exactly. I just can't let it go. There is an official like The Last of Us plush giraffe, which I have to try and get at some point. So yeah, I'll do that. Just while we're here, I'll scroll through the chat. We have a couple of people in here. Kamak Simon, 3rd episode, best for me. I think that's probably. I would agree with that anyway. I'm not sure everybody else will, but we'll talk about favorite episodes at the end. Some of the extra backstory scenes have helped this show. I enjoyed them. I agree. Absolutely. One of the infected unlocked the door.
Simon asked questions everybody needs to know again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was happier in the case. Yeah, I think. That's gone. Yeah, I think everybody's seen that meme going around. Yeah, absolutely. And we have Phil Nerdiverse joining us. Haven't watched this yet, but saying hi now. I'm just admiring a piece of new lighting and like celebrating Paddy's Day early. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So moving on. Yeah, so here's just kind of a little side by side with the game, and like they recreate a lot of the shots, kind of the giraffes walking off, and even the scene of them standing next to each other. And we got this kind of nice little nod to one of the first scenes where they're kind of looking at a view together. Is everything you hope for? You can't deny that view. So like that was nice. There's a few kind of parallels to the earlier on throughout this episode as well. So yeah, Joel kind of makes an argument. Like at this point in the story, like where did we're 20 minutes in. There's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes left. Where did you feel it was kind of going at this stage? Like Joel's here making this argument, like let's not bother. Did you think that was a possibility? No. Anybody? No.
No,
okay.
I was with her. It has to be for something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think like there's an amazing speech from Ellie here where she says like after everything we've been through, it can't be for nothing. I think that's sort of reflects what Riley said to her as well, like never give up. I think that's kind of ties into that. And then those lines, this was also nice. I think like the way she says, like, when we're finished, we're together. Like we're always going to be together, and we'll go wherever you want to do whatever you want to do. And like she even says like to the moon or to a sheep ranch. I thought that was quite lovely. But yeah, it's pulled directly from the game, word for word, pretty much. And yeah, this is the first time we're kind of seeing Joel like talk openly about Sarah. Like he's at one point, like the last time Ellie mentioned Sarah, he like said, "Don't ever say that. You're treading on thin ice and everything." Was this kind of was everybody kind of happy to see how did this kind of hit home how far they've kind of come at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could feel the bond, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And we got kind of in an earlier episode where Joel mentions his death, he's had like a guy shot and missed, and we got this kind of revelation. This isn't in the game, and I thought this was a really nice addition. That it was him that he tried to shoot himself, and he kind of flinched last second.
And I like that because it answered the question that I had back when we watched that first episode of how would he continue for 20 odd years after the death of his daughter, and this answered that for me. So I felt like I got closure on something that really bothered me in the beginning.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Really good point.
Yeah, nice new element to add, I think. And this show has done wonders with like Joel's character. I think like they've added a lot of vulnerability to him that I really love, and I think Pedro sells perfectly. But yeah, this whole the reason I'm telling you this, and she goes, "I know why you're telling me this." I was just like, "Oh, this is amazing." Peter, you want to talk a little bit about this kind of back and forth here?
Yeah.
Time heals all wounds.
I mean, first of all, I always find it incredibly hard to watch anybody talking about suicide and things on screen, and I thought that was a tremendous scene. I thought it was portrayed brilliantly. This is a bit that got me. I got a proper. Well, I did cry at this point. I don't know if it's something about being a father and whatnot, but just that the wording used there, the delivery was perfect. I just thought it was an absolutely stunning scene. Loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely. I'd 100% agree. Anyone else have a comment on this little moment?
Yeah, no, it just hit you in the feels.
It was a great love story between the two of them. Not every love story has to be a kind of relationship one. It can be sisters in Frozen, or in this is like the love of a kind of father and daughter type relationship. And this little moment in the script, I think, perfectly kind of personified it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love is the central theme of the original The Last of Us game, and you see that throughout every character. Is kind of all these characters that have jumped in and out of the story. Bill and Frank, Henry and Sam, even like Kathleen. That's always the center of their character. So yeah, I think the show is perfectly kind of translated that. This isn't moment. It's not in the game, but there is kind of a really touching bit. That initially I was a bit like, that's a shame, but I guess this kind of subs for it, where Ellie gives him a photo of him and Sarah, like that she picked up back in Tommy's house, and she's been holding on to it the whole time. So I just thought that was like, Joel like has to kind of pause for a second to like contain himself, but it was really beautiful moment. GP, were you kind of sad this wasn't here?
No, because later on in the episode, Joel goes on a lot about Sarah, so you get that. Yeah. I'm sure they'll probably shoehorn this in another series later on down the line.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so like it's they're sort of dancing around saying "I love you," pretty much, aren't they? Here, like they're saying it without saying it. I thought that was really beautiful, but also just seeing like Joel say like, "You know what, I'm in the mood for some shitty puns." Just like the way Ellie's so excited about it, and she, the Apocalypse one, I think is a classic. I really enjoyed. But
yeah,
at what point did you catch? Because my heart stopped when you see the guy in the background, like the camera doesn't really acknowledge it. Oh shit! Yeah, did you think it would be fireflies, or did you think maybe it was something else?
I don't know, but I literally said, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah,
I was pretty much waiting for it. Given the scene with the giraffe, and then this one, it was good for too long. Like you knew that something had to kick off and happen, and I did. Given that it was the last episode, I figured it would be the fireflies.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be fair, I didn't even notice him until the grenade got chucked.
Yeah, really. It was like proper hard. Like it's subtle. Like you have to be really focusing on that part of the screen. But it's like, oh shit, you know. That's great. Now, yeah. So the grenade the smoke grenade explodes and Ellie gets taken. Joel gets knocked out. Now, GP, you mentioned this. So this sequence plays out very differently in the game. So you're kind of going through this kind of flooded tunnel and there's cars and you're jumping on top of them. And one of a bus that you're crossing flips over. So Joel gets like trapped inside. And Ellie's like trying to help him, and she winds up kind of falling in the water. And Joel's trying to resuscitate her, and that's when these fireflies show up. So I understand because it would have been an incredibly expensive sequence to shoot, but I think it's like a nice payoff to the second episode when Ellie says she can't swim.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like
how much more dramatic would that have been?
100%, an amazing action sequence. Like,
so I see you are on the like edge of the seat when you go through this bit of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like for the pacing of the game, it's really great. And, like, you know, we said like some people feel like this episode's a bit too short, so maybe this like a little 5-minute kind of dangerous sequence would have really helped. And he's kind of sad this isn't in the game from the looks of it.
No.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool.
I like it as it was, James, and I hear what you're saying about the kind of a dragged out action sequence, I guess. But actually, as Ben described, that went from an absolutely gut-wrenching, beautiful scene to seeing them just out the corner of your eye approaching them in that kind of kind of mentality. I liked that more than probably watching an action scene. I like that shock and surprise.
That's a really good point, actually. I'll give you that one.
The rhythm of it felt right, whereas this would completely change that sequence.
Yeah. And like happiness cut short, you know, that's a common thing in The Last of Us. So
they might save this set piece for season 2 and integrate it somewhere else in the story.
Yeah,
maybe.
Possibly. I'd really like to see it. But I think honestly, you've changed my mind on this, Peter. I'm actually like, leave that out then. Yeah, well done. Fair play. So so Joel wakes up in the kind of hospital, and we see Marlene here. Welcome to the Fireflies and everything.
Marlene.
Gonna
do it every time now.
I love the way Joel, the first thing he says, "Where's Ellie?" Like he just doesn't care about anything else, you know. So in the game, like I said, she's like nearly drowns, and she's unconscious for the entirety of the hospital sequence.
Yeah.
Like from that moment to the operating table to the car, she's unconscious the entire time, so she never even sees a firefly. Whereas here, Marlene mentions that like, oh, she's worried about you, she's been asking about you and stuff. So I don't know if that really. I think it works a bit better. That particular aspect works a bit better in the game, that she like never even gets to see Marlene again. You know, that maybe it makes like something said a bit more believable to her potentially.
I guess we don't know if that was just Marlene trying to shut Joel up. We don't know for certain that even happened. She might have been unconscious with the flashbang.
Well, she was just dragged. She was awake when she was dragged by the flashbang. She's shouting for Joel. So, like, I think I take that at face value, because she's not really like against Joel at this stage. She's quite grateful that like he even brought her as well. You know,
she wasn't fond of Marlene though, was she, at the beginning of the series?
No, she didn't like her until she mentioned her mom. You know, and she did, like she said, "I was there when you were born," and everything. She kind of softened to her a little bit. But in the game, it's implied that there's a bit more. They've spent a bit more time together. Like she wasn't chained up to a wall or anything in the games, so that might have something to do with it. So he asked to see her, and she says, "I can't." Did everybody's heart just kind of drop in this moment? This like revelation surgery and the cordyceps around her brain.
So
how does that feel here?
So my thoughts went to a bit of a darker place, because as soon as this happened, I was like, well, Joel's going to get her out. They're going to flee and they're going to escape. But my concern was about what the Fireflies would do next now that they have this information. Because they're going to try and recreate this scenario, right? They're going to find someone, they're going to have babies, they're going to try and infect them to try and create something so that they could make a cure, because this one's now failed.
I think you're widely overestimating the reach that the Fireflies have. Like even they don't even, I believe, have the structure to distribute a vaccine at all. You know, like they're kind of a splinter group here and there. Like I can't imagine them capturing and holding hostage tens of millions of people to like mass produce, immune people, I guess.
I'm not saying mass produce them. I'm saying all they need is another child that has.
Oh, you think like after
this
this happens? You mean?
Yeah, they would just find They would find another pregnant person, or possibly even have someone get pregnant, so that they could recreate this scenario.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Actually, I didn't even think of that. We have a comment here, Forgotten Donut. I wonder, with Ellie being awake and speaking with Marlene, whether or not there was actually a discussion about what was going to happen to her. Joel lies, but she was aware of what the plan was. No, Marlene says, I don't have the quote here, but she says we didn't tell her she's not going to feel any pain, so she didn't know. Which is sort of like a lot of this could have been avoided by just letting Joel see Ellie and letting them say goodbye, I feel.
Or they could have kept him knocked out. They could have kept him sedated or asleep or anything.
Like, well, they don't necessarily know that they've developed this really close bond together, Efren, were you shocked in this kind of sequence scene?
I still wasn't quite sure what cordyceps meant, and that on the upper right hand side, I'm not even sure what this means. It makes normal cordyceps thinks that she's cordyceps.
So she has there's like a chemical, I think, that like produced in her blood from when her mom was bitten, and it tricks when she was bitten, but from when she was with Riley, when she was bitten, then the cordyceps that she was bitten with thinks that she's already infected, so it doesn't turn her.
Okay.
I think that's the kind of idea. So they're going to pull that chemical. Exactly, yeah. So they're going to pull that from her and give it to people, and that's like the kind of idea. Like, we can give it to everybody.
Did they even try getting a blood sample from her first to see?
No, well, they need to cut her brain open to get it. That's the idea here, Ben, what do you think of this in this moment? What was your kind of feelings?
To be honest, and it has been probably one of my kind of overarching kind of critiques of the whole show, is I did find this fairly predictable. You knew the Fireflies it was never going to be a smooth situation, even when they found them. It's the classic kind of trope for these kinds of stories where you finally get to the place where you need to be, and it's not all that it seems, and there's nefarious things actually going on and stuff. So I saw it coming a mile off, but it was just superbly played by both actors. The kind of tension was palpable.
Is that something you thought about in previous episodes like that? Are they going to get the Fireflies and there's going to be trouble?
Yeah, from the start.
Yeah, really? Okay. Yeah. Fair. Yeah, you and Luke on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, because we're both sadistic fucks.
Yeah.
I ain't arguing with that.
Yeah, that's funny because like there is, in the marketing for this show and in the game, and it's like part of the iconography of the series. It's like how hopeful the Fireflies are. When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. And that there's kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily say nefarious. There's just like, the management here is an issue. I think there should have been kind of more consideration given to circumstances. Camouflage Simon, but I still don't understand how they would turn her brain into the cure. So just watch the episode with subtitles, Simon.
Simon, you can't cross the road. We're not expecting you to understand the brain surgery part of it.
Like it is like it's they explain it and they use big words. I guess that's how I'll put it. But
it's made up, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's made up. Cordyceps isn't really a thing in people, so they can say whatever they want. So this is like replicated pretty much word for word from the game series. Marlene and Joel together. I love the way, like, as if like, I don't care, kill another kid, kill another person. Like, I don't care, just not her. As if that's like something that they'll actually take into account. I think like Joel, Pedro plays like Joel's kind of frustration here and worry excellently as well. Like, he gets punched, he's like, please, he's begging at this stage, like, please, you don't understand. So he's like, take him outside, if he tries out, and shoot him. So do we all feel like a rescue attempt was coming at this point, but before even this moment? No?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
not this shot, but like, did you think he'd like? But did you think he'd be successful? Like he would savor the day and walk out the door? Yeah. Okay.
You could almost pinpoint the moment the eyes went dead on Pedro Pascal, and he was going to do something stupid.
He went into instant kill mode.
full on John Wick.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He's we see him here. He disarms the guy, and like he's just ruthless. And like in the game, this kind of scene where he disarms. It's a little bit different. He like shoots him a few times to try to get the info, and then just shoots him in the head. But the hospital sequence. So like this is Joel. Like this is who Joel is, and we've heard things, we've seen glimpses, but like this is him in his natural state. Like he's not a hero. He's not
habitat.
Exactly. He's not a hero. He's not a good guy. Like he's a bad person. Like
I disagree because to Ellie, he will always be her hero.
Yeah, he's in his natural state when he's with Ellie. This is not natural. Yeah. This is driven by heartbreak and love.
Yeah. So of course, like the hospital sequence is like, obviously it's a game. This is a gameplay sequence where you're kind of shooting at, and like that sort of plays into how you feel about this moment because you're doing it. Like you're the one who's shooting these people, and so I was curious about how they would portray that in the show. And I think this whole sequence was amazing and probably my favorite in the entire series. Everybody else felt like just the way he's like, this is guy giving up. He shoots him in the head. He's so calm. Like it's not even phasing him really. Like look at him shooting someone there at his face. He's just like doesn't care at all. Efren, I'm very curious to see how you felt in these moments.
This is when my view started to change on Joel. I just don't. I mean, this was a very selfish act, and I'd hate to be in that position. I think I wouldn't know what I would do if I was in that position. Yeah, that was a family member of mine that I cared about, what I would do. But this is when I just started not really liking this character. I go, he's very selfish. He's willing to, screw the world. I want my daughter back. But it's hard. I mean, those who have children, then I start feeling, God, that was my daughter. What would I do?
Yeah.
Reflecting, but this is when I say, oh man, he's just God. I'm not really liking his character right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit since you mentioned it there about like the decision that he's kind of made here. So the developers of the game, like play testing is a thing with video games, Efren. So before a game comes out, they bring people in to play it and tell them what they think, and they ask them questions like, do you think this part of the story is good? Do you think like the gameplay is smooth and whatever? And one of the questions when the original game was being play tested was, what do you think of Joel's decision at the end? And if you didn't have children, it was 50-50 of people saying, I think he made the right decision. I think he was in the wrong. 100% of parents said that he was in the right here. So I think it's curious that you decided like not, but like also the fact that like there's a lot of parents here on the screen with me. I've been very curious to think. But Peter, would you do the same thing here? Probably less efficiently, would
I have a choice between the two? No. I think Efren's probably of the same view as me. I think at the end of the day, absolutely, I would save my kids. But for me, the question is the brutality that goes before it. The guy surrendering, he still kills. That pushes it to a different level.
You don't kill him. He sneaks up behind you with a knife 2 minutes later. That's the problem with this world. Yeah, that's what you have to do. He is like unnecessarily brutal at times. Like you see him just like there's people like bleeding out on the ground. He just shoots them anyway. They could. He'll be well gone before they get up.
I think a Forgotten Donut has got a perfect kind of analogy for what I think. It's selfish, disgusting, horrible thing he does, but it's totally understandable and almost relatable.
Powerful moments, yeah.
So Peter, did you feel the same way after the guy showed him on the map where to go, and then he killed the two guys, or did you think that was fine then as well? Because it's pretty much the same thing, right?
No, I didn't like that either. I like it in terms of the show, but you know what I'm like? I'm more Superman and Captain America, and you get away without killing them and whatnot. Where I know.
I try not to get all like hyped up with it. Like I'm not glorifying the violence that he's doing. but I do watch it and I turn to people and say he gets it. Like he's doing what has to be done, and this is why he survived that long. And I think that's the hardest part. You got people, even myself. I don't know what I would do if someone was surrendering. You would want to do the right thing, but at the same time, it's you or them. You got to.
Yeah.
He gets it, and he's prepared to do what has to be done.
Yeah, exactly. I'd agree with that. Yeah. GP, as like, you've seen the gameplay of this, so how do you feel this translated that sequence?
I think it translated really good. Even when he's out swapping his guns, it's like
exactly. It's like you're picking up guns like on the way
as you're going along.
Because ammo is very scarce in the games.
Yeah,
I really love the way they follow his boots as well. I think it's like it's a villain thing you do. Like a lot of villains when they're introduced, you start at the shoes and you kind of work your way up, and it's almost.
I think they shot it really well, and it played out really well. I am glorifying this.
Yeah, like it is like almost John Wick. Like there's probably 20 people or something. He just shoots.
I wonder what he would have done if his brother had stayed at Firefly and he was in this scene. If he was still with this group.
It's a very interesting question.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
What do you think Tommy would think of this? This happening. That's an interesting one as well.
I think Tommy would join him.
Yeah, brothers for life, Yeah, it's just like we see kind of the remnants of his. Like I think just as an action scene, it's so well directed. And one thing that really stood out to me was the music in this scene is sad. It's not like they could have done like a ba-bum action scene here, and they didn't. They made this like really somber, slow music to play.
They kind of take it down as well. It's like it's not muted, but it's everything.
It's low.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's happening on screen is really the thing of this impact.
I think Joel has lost part of his humanity, especially with this scene, and his only humanity left is Ellie. I think he's just single-mindedly. All he does is care about her. Screw everything else.
It's like Bill said in episode 3. Like you are my purpose. Like she is his purpose. So like he doesn't care about the rest of the world because Ellie is his world. So the rest of us can die. So amazingly shot sequence. So Luke, you mentioned this, and I absolutely 100% agree. They should have put a giraffe on this wall.
Should have
would have been just a nice little. It would have been a nice little moment there. Luke is unfortunately gone. Nice elephant. There's like you do see monkeys, which is I think a little reference to the 6th episode. You see the kind of maybe we'll see. I like to read into everything on this. Everything's here for a reason, Ben. That's the thing. The set designers here, exactly. So you get to the door, the kind of operating room.
Can I just say before we move on?
Yes.
Stunning sequence. Like honestly, this is for me. It was the second best kind of single sequence in the whole show.
Shooting through the hospital
behind the Frank euthanasia thing is still my favorite kind of little bit, but I just thought it was horrendous. It was kind of a horrendous act, kind of juxtaposed with like beauty and kind of like, as you say, the kind of the music was so kind of like beautiful and somber and the way it played out as well. I was like, this feels like such a loving tribute to the fact that it's a video game, because it almost felt very video game in the way 100%. That it was kind of framed and stuff. And I honestly, that was it was just
really
perfect.
Surprises us you're saying that, Ben, because I know we've talked before about the John Wick movies. This was like a direct scene from a John Wick movie. And I know you're not a big fan of those, but it was almost kind of, I could see, Keanu doing those exact moves, even checking the rounds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It is the most
I think the difference is
in the show.
This has like the script and the acting behind it and stuff, and John Wick's just done it.
Have you seen the
Keanu has more kung fu in it.
Yeah. The new, I don't know if you're aware, Ben, the new John Wick has been getting 10 out of 10 masterpieces, best action movie the last 10 years.
People are dumb.
How dare you?
I need to see it. I'm only winding you up. I need to see it. Also, as well, I'm 100% with Joel on his actions. FYI.
I think he's a really shitty person. So, and I love him. I still love him.
Best to go.
But
I think you're right, James. He's a really shitty person. But if you were really in this world, that's who you want to stand next to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
100%. Oh my
make
God,
those
yes,
decisions,
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I couldn't
wish I
be
was
Joel, I don't think, but I would want to be with Joel, if that makes sense.
I don't think it was like about him being like this dangerous kind of like, great marksman. Like, I think it was more, the whole thing was just representative of what would you do for love.
Yeah.
Like, and I just found that really kind of moving in that moment.
But Peter, if you were with Joel, he'd kill you in an instant if you were in his way.
He would. I mean,
Don't get in his way.
I could feed that commune for at least a month. I would have thought.
Not before that guy would have his way with you first, Peter.
Yeah,
Put you in the cage. We owe it.
Comment here, Forgotten Donut. This scene, as brutal as it is heartbreaking. You're absolutely watching a man who Ellie made a better man. Throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Like, we saw Joel kind of come back from that dark place that he was in, and here he is just fully basking in that. Absolutely fantastic point, I think.
Because you got to think, though, without Ellie, he would be in that dark place again. It's
100%.
Losing his daughter all over again.
Yeah, it's
the only
desperation.
reason he went to that dark place originally was because of the loss of his daughter.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a great contrast to like the Chef Boyardee. Here's Boggled, like tell me a pun. Like, it's this is what's hiding kind of inside him.
It's hiding inside of all of us.
I don't know.
I'll wear mine on the outside.
But yeah, so he gets to the pediatric surgery door, and this is a very kind of iconic shot in the game, where it's this really long hallway that you're kind of leading up to with the Firefly symbol next to it. And we go into the operating room, and he's just stone cold, like, unhook her. And the surgeon. Now it's a bit more. I'll get to the game in a sec, but yeah, the surgeon says, like, "How'd you get in here?" Grabs the surgical knife. Holds it up to Joel, and Joel just, like, it's within like 2 seconds, like, of entering the room, Joel just shoots him point blank in the head here. And the way how harsh he's being with the nurses and everything, I thought was great, and they really emphasized the surgeon there. Just a Easter egg: one of the nurses is played by Laura Bailey, who is a voice actress who's in the second game, plays a really big character in that.
The one right at the back.
Yeah.
She's on Critical Role as well.
In the game, not in the show.
Yeah. I think she also just had, like, by coincidence, plays one of these nurses in the game as well. So, but she's like a big character in the second one. So in the game, like, and I was curious how, again, this would be translated, because you are the one who does this. You have to press the aim button and the shoot button that you've been doing the entire game. And I remember the first time I played this, going in that room thinking there's going to be a decision. There's going to be a moment where you can walk away. And you don't. Like, you have to shoot the guy. Like, and if you walk up to him, you stab him in the neck.
I mean,
that's really horrific.
An interesting dynamic for the game, if at the end of it you decide what your moral decision is going to be.
So everybody kind of stood there and thought, "Oh, I can walk away," and you can't. You just have to do it. Like,
because in the Walking Dead VR game, you get that kind of last scene where you can make the decision to basically kill everybody or kind of sacrifice one person, and the game dynamic changes depending on what you do.
Yeah, 100%. Like, loads of games have kind of like alternate, make a decision at the end to affect the ending, you guess, kind of thing. But like, no, it's just you have to do this horrible thing. It was really kind of shocking at the time playing it. So you can kill the nurses, and I was curious if Joel would kill the nurses, but he didn't kill the nurses, and I was like, maybe he should have. Maybe that would have been. Maybe would that have been too far? Do anyone feel like?
Yes.
If you just well, because like it's like, no loose ends. Nobody can operate on her. Like, one of those nurses might be able to. But yeah, I usually kill the nurses when I do it.
James, just going back to what Peter said about The Walking Dead. What game came out first? Would it have been The Last of Us, or would it have been the Walking Dead game with Clementine and the other gentleman? It was like a mobile game, I think it was. But it's very similar in the sense of a man looking out for a younger kid.
So they came out the same year,
right?
Because I know that because Ashley Johnson won the BAFTA for Left Behind, and she was up against Clementine.
Right. Okay.
So they both came out the same year. So just by coincidence, they both kind of had similarly themed stories.
Because I just wonder, with all the Walking Dead spin-offs that we're going to get, I wonder if they're going to leave that money on the table, or if they'll make an adaptation themselves similar to this, but with those characters.
I'd love to see that. I think it's a phenomenal story. I think it's weird losing the whole for those who don't know, it's a choose your own adventure thing. So you're making decisions. There's like dialogue options when someone talks to you about what you could say back to them, and that affects the story. So when you take that out, I don't know what you kind of do, because some people play the main character like a dickhead and some people play him like a hero. So like, like how do you translate that? There is a Clementine sequel comic book that I read that's really good. So if you're a fan of those, Luke, you should check them out if you haven't already.
Can I just say, imagine them using the shotgun in the series on the Doctor.
Yeah, well, I got this from a playthrough on YouTube, but I use a flamethrower usually.
Nice.
I set them all on fire. Yeah, no, I actually usually go up and he grabs the scalpel and stabs him in the neck. So that's how my playthroughs usually go. Depends on what mood I'm in, I guess. Yeah. Comic Book I'm still waiting for the PC version to come out. It wants to hurry up. Yeah, it's out at the end of this month, I think. It's soon. The specs and all are out, and everything's like it's out.
Yeah, I think there was a advertisement on YouTube for it, the PC version.
Really curious, Simon, when you play that to have a conversation with you about it. Anyway, just as a game, anyway. So yeah, anyone kind of catch this little parallel here of him holding the little girl in his hands?
Yeah.
Brushed over everybody. Ben, you not picked this up?
Not really.
No, yeah. So it's much more evident in the game where you're like running with, like in the game, you're being chased by fireflies and they're shooting at you. So it's similar to the opening sequence where there's infected kind of everywhere and you're running with her. So like it's kind of, it starts how it ends, kind of way. So we get to the garage. He sees the car and Marlene kind of pops out from behind the pillar. And I think she makes a good point here, like where she says, like, how long, you save her now, tomorrow she could get killed by a clicker, the next day she could get murdered by people.
That's the thing though, it's all about choices, and they didn't even give Ellie the choice.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Maybe it's not right for you to decide, or you, but like she says, I think she'd want to do what's right. So what would she decide?
Still did that though, did they?
So that's what I mean. I think this all could have been avoided had in the game she's unconscious, but had they waited for Joel to wake up and let him speak to Ellie and told Ellie, you're going to die if we do this surgery, because she would have been like, okay, I'll give myself for that. And Joel had a conversation with Joel and said goodbye to Joel and like convinced him to let it be okay.
I still don't think Joel would let her do it.
No, I don't think he would accept that, would he?
Yeah, but he did, like she wouldn't like forgive him for that,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Like I think
that's
she
sacrificed it,
and just takes her hostage for the rest of her life.
He doesn't have to take a hostage. He kills everybody there.
But that's parenthood. Sometimes is that you're essentially having to make the hard decisions to protect the one you love, and they don't like it. My 2.5-year-old will cry when I take things away. She doesn't like it, but I'm doing it to stop her from getting the knife or whatever it is on the side, and even, Peter's kids are teenagers now and he has to step in and stop them from doing or saying stuff, and they might not like it at the time, but in the long run, people see that it was for the greater good, And
I mean to say, Stockholm Syndrome kicks in after so long.
I mean, I guess so. Efren, curious what your thoughts?
Sound in your basement, GP? I can hear someone rustling.
It's in the attic.
Efren, do you think if they told Ellie and they allowed her to decide and she had a chance to talk to Joel, this would have all been avoided?
I don't know, man. I don't think so, because she's his life. That's all he cares about now is her.
Yeah.
So screw everybody else. I just don't think. I've never played this game. I never will. I mean, I'm just talking about Joel, this character. He's not long for this world. I think he's gonna die. At the beginning when we first talked about this show, I didn't want him to die because I thought he was an integral part of the show, and he still is. But the way his life is going now, I think if this was true life, I think he'd be dead soon.
Yeah. I will say, playing the game originally, I was certain he was going to die at some point, and I was like, this is the type of story where he dies at the end. And I was surprised when he didn't. Just catch up on the comments. The fact that you don't get a choice is so powerful in a medium where choice is the main feature. Yeah, I think that's a really great point, and this is the point of no return for Joel. Now, I've my entire time with this franchise, a decade, I've always been in the camp that if Ellie had woken up, she would have, like, Joel would probably have gone and shot himself the next day, but she would have convinced him to let her do it. I truly don't believe that he would let it happen. He stated that she is his world, and for him, I don't think there's a world worth living without her. I'd agree with that, but I think he would have let her do it. Yeah. So Marlene is completely right here. I think Ellie would want that. She would want to kind of sacrifice herself for the world, so her life has kind of purpose. Did any of you use, because I think Pedro sells this so well, did any of you think he was going to change his mind?
No.
Nobody?
No.
I thought he was going to let her live. For some reason, I thought he was going to let her live. So
you didn't think there was like a glimmer of hope that Joel might be a good person in his heart and let it happen? Yeah.
Nope.
So, similar.
He
so
is a good
exactly the same
person.
game.
Stop calling him a bad person.
He's a terrible person. He's the most selfish human being to ever exist. Like, literally.
See, I can't
disagree.
I can't disagree any more. Like, he's a father, and like Ben said before, this is love. Love might make you a psychopath, but love is like a powerful emotion.
It properly opened up the conversation with me and my wife when we were watching it, and I was like, I don't think I could sacrifice one innocent child, because effectively pretty much all children up to a certain age are the embodiment of innocence, right? I don't think I could sacrifice one innocent child or person for the world. I don't think I could do that.
So this is where me and Ben differ slightly.
But then if your child is at risk, and then I would do everything to protect her. So it's I kind of contradict myself a bit, because, and it's
for me, it's literally find someone else, like what Joel said, but you're not having mine. It's a simple case of, you can look at someone else and go, oh yeah, it's for the greater good, they should do that. But then at the same time, when it's your own, it's an entirely different story. It completely flips it on its head.
And like people make arguments. Like, again, there's been discourse over this for a decade, and honestly, it's surreal to me now that I'm talking to you guys about it. Like, honestly, I think that's amazing. But like, is there the structural integrity with the fire? Like, how do they mass produce this? How do they distribute this? How do you convince people in Fedra to take it? Things like that. If it's a cure, it's not going to turn people back into humans. It's just going to stop even more people getting infected. So it's a long run thing. It's 50 years down the line when the infected start
at this point in the world of Last of Us, does it even matter anymore?
Is the world too
20 years?
Exactly, the world's too far gone. Like, people are, people are more likely to kill you in this world than infected are. So that's another.
A year in, maybe, but when you've got the structures and everything now, it's like.
Yeah, but like ultimately, like, and Neil Druckmann, people make those arguments, but like Neil Druckmann, who's one of the creators of the series, has said, like, no, definitively, this would have cured everything, and like, in the long run, I guess things would have gone back to normal. Like, there was a future for humanity. So yeah, I think he's like a monster. Like, this is the worst thing anyone's ever done in history. Like, to when you're being objected, it's true. Like, that's just how it is. And yeah, Ephraim, he should die. I think he deserves to die. So yeah,
this show's taking a dark turn, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm saying this. Joel is one of my 5 favorite characters in all of fiction, like, along with Ellie. So,
real quick, James, the second game, you played the second game, correct?
Well, I'll talk a bit in a few minutes, Efren, when we get to the end about the second game, and I'll be vague because I gave you all a bit.
I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions. I want answers.
I'm not gonna be very careful. I'm not gonna spoil.
Give spoiler answers.
I'm not spoiling anything. Anyway, so yeah, similar scene to the game. And yeah, so we get this, it sort of plays a coy a bit, like, it feels like the way this is shot initially that he did leave her. Nobody was fooled. No. Fair enough, yeah. So we see her in the backseat. Yeah. You're with me, Andy. I love again. This exactly like the game. It's kind of cuts back and forth between like his lie to her about like they were running tests. There's more, there's more immune people. There's no cure, so that's it. Doctors couldn't make it work. And he shoots Marlene. It says Raiders attacked the hospital. I barely got you out of there. Do you think he could have come up with a better excuse?
I don't think there is one, is there?
Yeah. Like, is there anything he could have done really to make her believe him at this point?
The giraffe burst through the wall in a fit of rage.
Yeah.
Even at the end, so I'm not even convinced that she does believe him.
Yeah.
But
she doesn't.
But she accepts it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
what he's saying. Rather
you're
than
jumping ahead, Luke. We'll get to this. The last shot of the show. But yeah, is Marlene okay on taking us home? She turns around. She's like obviously like, well, that's fishy. Exactly the same as the game anyway. He says, I'm sorry. So we see him go back and like again, just brutal Joel, let me go. You'll just come after her. And he's right again, I think. That's true. Like you have to kill her or she'll find a way to come back,
Makes sense.
And shot for shot, it's framed even exactly the same way, like from the games. So brilliant, I think, translation of that sequence. So we come forward a bit of time later. Things like again, Joel seems like a little bit desperate. Like he's almost like clinging to what they had at their kind of the peak of their relationship, like that montage we had before he got stabbed, where he's like, "We can manage that." Remember how things used to be. Like it's almost desperate in a way that's not in the games. And I actually kind of like that aspect that they've kind of introduced here. And this is the first time he's initiated a conversation about Sarah. He's brought up Sarah himself. Like it's always somebody asked him or she's mentioned to him, but he's the one who's introduced it himself here. And he says like you would have liked her, and I think that's a really nice set. Like it's in a what if universe, like Sarah and Ellie together be something I'd like to see.
Yeah, but you look on Ellie's face, and it just seems like he's comparing her to his daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing. Like, is this
going the right way?
This was too far for me.
Is this unhealthy? Yeah. Like she's a surrogate. He's like she is Sarah now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I think that's beyond the money there, GP. And I thought the funny kind of conversation here, like he's trying so desperately not to insult her and everything. It's good. But like, because you're funny. So they get to Jackson. So this is, if you didn't recognize it, this is Tommy's settlement. There you go. Mm-hmm. So she pulls him and has this kind of conversation. So back in Kansas City, you asked me about the first time I killed someone. When I got bit, I wasn't on my own. We didn't know what to do. And she says, we can just wait it out. Be all poetic and lose our minds together. Now, in the game, as I said, Left Behind was added later. So this is the first mention of Riley in this story at all. Like, we don't know who she is. So, like, the be all poetic and lose our minds came from the ending, and they worked their way back and showed that in Left Behind. So just thought I'd kind of point that here. But her name is Riley. She was the first to die. Then it was Tess. Then Sam. And Joel's kind of response here, like you'll find something new to fight for, which it's, for him it's her. And then we get the last shot of the story. Joel's a bastard, isn't he? Like,
no,
Ellie,
no.
Like Joel is the one person in the world Ellie trusts, and she's saying to him, "Just swear to me that's true, like, and I will believe you. Like, swear to me it's all true." I swear, he says. She goes, okay. So, Luke, you're absolutely on the money. She doesn't believe him at all, but she just accepts that, okay, this is what you've told me. This is what I will go forward with. How do we all go one by one anyway? How do you feel in this kind of moment, Peter?
It's heartbreaking because that you can see she doesn't believe him. So that trust is now gone. But he's probably done the right thing, and I think it's probably the thing that a lot of us would do. We lie to our kids and to our friends and to our family all the time about minor things. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think he had to do it, and I think he knows she doesn't believe him and she doesn't believe him, which is going to be a rocky relationship going forward.
Yeah, Okay. Efren?
What a conflicting character this guy is now, man. I go from thinking he's gone too far. He's a father, so I don't know. I just don't know about him anymore. I don't like his character, but at the same time, I can see why he did that, because that's his daughter. So it's like I said, ask me in 2 years when this season, episodes come
season
around.
2 comes out.
It's
Well,
tough.
you did. I believe you said, Efren, if I remember correctly, you said during these shows that we've been doing that you would stop watching the show if Joel wasn't in it.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
Change your mind. Awesome.
I've changed my mind. Yeah.
It's one thing to when it's talked about, how bad he is, but to see it, is kind of another thing. I was curious.
You first played this game. How old is this game? 10 years?
10 years this year. Yeah.
You were very young when you played this game.
I was 18.
Yeah, what did you think back then? 18 years. I mean, when you're 18, did you think he did the right thing? And compared to right now, what do you think? Do you still feel the same way?
I mean, like when you're fighting through I remember walking into that hospital room and going, "Get away!" I think I literally said out loud, "Get away from her." You're so invested because it's not just Joel, it's you as well. You're controlling all of this. So it wasn't really until the kind of Marlene stuff and then the ending where you're like, oh, this maybe wasn't so good of a thing to do. So like it's really impactful in that way, I think. Like, because of that connection you have with the characters, because you are that character in a way. So yeah, I mean, like at the time, I was kind of on board as it was happening, and then it kind of when you sit and think about it, you're like, oh no.
I think one more thing. I think when you have great actors doing roles, it just draws you in more. And they chose.
100%. Perfect casting, absolutely perfect casting. I think for both of them, honestly.
Yep.
They portrayed them so well. I've forgotten Donna, a great point here. I love him as a character. I hate him as a person, and I think that's spot on to how I feel. Luke.
This was the right thing to do. We as fans might never have Joel's skill set, but we are certainly, or at least potentially, one bad day away from having his mindset. I think the things that he calculates and goes through in his own head before he makes these decisions, he's doing what needs to be done. Like I keep saying, he gets it.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like patronizing to obviously like you and stuff who who isn't a parent, but like I just get it. It's like for me, it's like my mindset just completely shifted when I sort of moved into parenthood, and these kind of like moments in shows and stuff I like completely kind of relate to on a whole new level now. And as Peter says, you sometimes have to sort of tell porkies, as we would say, to ultimately to kind of protect the kid or whatever. Like, say for example, when your kid's young and someone dies in the family, you might not necessarily tell them straight away that the family member has died, if it might be a year or whatever until you actually explain that. And it's I get it, man. Like, if anything, I've gone from not relating to Joel to relating to him like more in this last episode than I have for a while.
Let's face it, I'm sure the age range for this video is all right, but we like the billions of children every year around a certain holiday time, don't we? We don't bat an eyelid at that.
I don't think there's anyone believing in Santa watching this show at the moment.
Well, you never know.
Santa's not real.
Sorry, Simon.
Sorry, Simon.
Simon is switch off now. Yeah.
Listen to them.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Honestly, though, I think this was his chance to tell her the truth. And I think if he had told her the truth, she would have been furious at him, but she would get over it. And they would eventually get back to where they kind of were as father and daughter. She'd forgive him.
See, I disagree with that, because they're back at that commune. So if he had told her the truth, that would have been it for them. She would have been so angry. They would have been separated. She would have bonded with other people, and it would have just got harder and harder. He would then go out, and he might turn to drink or suicide or anything else that he might do. He might go back out into the wild. Yeah. So if anything, that would have been the end of it. Whereas this is her just accepting it. She's going, okay, it is me and you. I'm choosing to believe in what you're saying. Whether I'm accepting what you're saying, not so much believing.
Because ultimately, a teenage girl as well. If you tell a teenage girl, try to explain something that a teenage girl doesn't.
Oh, they'll just go and do the opposite.
Yeah, but they won't listen to reasoning or I did that because of this. Like if he told her, then she would just go to a completely different place. So at least this way, even though she knows in her heart of heart he's bullshitting me, she can't say anything because he's stood there and he's saying it. So it's kind of this subtext that it's like, I did what I did to protect you. Don't ask me again. I swear, and she's like, fuck you.
The other thing as well is like they're going back into this community, but they're still in the same situation as they were when they were there before. Because if anyone sees that bite on their arm, she's going to risk being killed on the spot, right? That part hasn't changed. She's still going to be in constant danger regardless, and she needs Joel.
I'll debunk that in a moment. Sorry, Luke, we get to the second one. Just GP, as a translation of the scene from the game, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much word for word, really. Obviously, Pedro and Bella do an amazing job of acting it out. And it's like what the lads are saying, being a parent, you'd burn the fucking world down for your kids. You really would, just to protect them. And I think that goes to show how far Joel is willing to go.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Forgotten Donny. He's the villain of any other show. He's dooming humanity to save his daughter is a villain origin story in any other movie. Reminds me of Mr. Freeze almost. Anything to save his wife. That's a really good point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like perspective is another thing.
And again, that's a character I relate to. What is wrong with me?
Yeah, but like if you were the son of a firefly or something, and this crazy man, you had the savior of humanity, and this crazy man came and stole her away and killed everybody. Like, that's a villain, isn't it? So yeah, just as an ending, just like because it cuts like immediately after she says, "Okay," it cuts to black. Some of you have said frustrating.
No.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Did you feel?
Blue bald is how.
Yeah. Peter, how did you feel like the scene as an ending? Like,
I liked it. We'll watch so many shows now where they don't give you a satisfying end, because they're hoping for another season or whatever, and they kind of left on a cliffhanger or whatever. I like that this kind of could neatly just end there and let you kind of watch those characters walk off together, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found it quite fulfilling.
Yeah,
I thought it was like the biggest cliffhanger of all time.
Well, for a long time, Ben, this was the ending. We didn't know we were getting a part 2. A lot of people didn't want a part 2, said this is a nice place to leave these characters, and I actually was in that camp for a long time until part 2 was announced, and we saw that it's these characters, and I was like, okay, right, let's do this, I think it's one of the best endings of anything. Like, I absolutely adore it. Efren, were you satisfied as an ending?
You took the thoughts right out of my mind. I thought this would have been a good ending of the series. They lead their lives as much as possible after this. I could see it ending right after this. Hey, I'm not sure what's going to happen with season 2, but I heard the second video game is going to be seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah, I have a slide for it after you got.
Sorry, man, I'm telling you, you already know that.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in a minute. And I'll kind of
explain
how I feel about that. But yeah, you're right. Luke, as an ending, would you like to leave it here?
So the thing is, right, is we already knew that we were getting a second season, so that kind of changes things a bit as well.
And that there's a second game, yeah.
So I think this was done very well because you could leave it here if you wanted to. Now, obviously, we all knew while we were watching it, when we were getting into it, that there was going to be, we knew from like episode 2, I think it was, that it was picked up for a second season. So it's good that there's enough there that you could carry on, but if you were happy with this ending, you could stop here and you're fulfilled.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, our headspace at the time. Like, I was curious if it would land differently when there's a continuation, rather than like this might be it. If you would feel like whether this is a nice place to leave it, but yeah, some of you do and some of you don't, I guess. John, Marlene is also at fault. She should have told Ellie about her mother and the promise she made. Yeah, she mentions that she knew her mother and she was there when she was born, but she didn't really get into specifics about that. So yeah, maybe that would have played into it. So yeah, this is exactly scene for scene for the game, and that is the show. So any kind of final thoughts on this episode, and then we'll talk about kind of the season as a whole. Peter, start with you.
Just as I said at the start, really another very, very strong episode. And I think if we look, I know you're going to want to look back at the full season in a bit. I don't think there's been a misstep in this season. There's been episodes that haven't been as amazing as other episodes, but they've all been very, very good quality.
Yeah.
And compared to other shows that I know we'll watch, I think it's been really good.
Yeah, Efren.
I think the whole series was well written. Do you know the creators of the video game? How much input did they have into writing, or did they have somebody at the credits? They have somebody else helping them write this.
So Neil Druckmann, who is one of the creators of the game, is co-leads the show with Craig Mason, who is the writer of Chernobyl. So it's collaborative between the two of them.
Gotcha.
So I think the new stuff came from Craig Mason, and the original stuff Neil Druckmann kind of ensured stayed true to the games. That's why I think there's such a great understanding of these characters. Luke, any other thoughts on this final episode before we go to the season kind of thoughts?
No, just really enjoyable. You know, it gave me what I wanted. You know, it's really hard for these shows to stick the landing. I think it's harder in this day and age. So yeah, this ticked the box for me. This was great.
Yeah, and the season as a whole.
Yeah, love it. Like this is probably one of the best seasons of television that I've ever seen. Anything. It's certainly the best adaptation that I've ever seen.
100% I agree. This is up there with like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings as like how to adapt something properly, I think. Yeah, this is a masterpiece. Ben?
Yeah, just a really, really strong episode. As I said from the top, you know, this is my second favorite episode. And yeah, for me, just I know drummed on about it a lot, but just a great exploration of love and parenthood.
Yeah. And GP, any kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I wish it was a little bit longer, with a bit more bits in it. But yeah, I'm gonna put this episode right at the top for me. Just that hospital bit did it.
Yeah. Kind of Simon asking, James, do you think they would make a good anime with it? So I did one of my first videos was when the show was announced. I was pitching ideas for it. And what I said was do like another story with Joel and Ellie, but have Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson play them and make it animated because they can't do it in live action. Or if you're going to do live action, do it with other characters because I kind of didn't want them to mess with that story. Now, in retrospect, like I called The Last of Us at that point a perfect story. You shouldn't change anything. You shouldn't tweak anything. Every word should be there. And this show has improved on things. I think every side character in this show is, like, for the most part, I think David and Tommy and Joel and Ellie are the 4 exceptions where the game, I think, does them better. That's not to say the show does them bad, but like Henry and Sam, Bill and Frank, Riley are all, I think, better portrayed in the Sarah. Yeah, absolutely, are all better in the show than they are in the game. So like, I really, as a fan of this series, a diehard fan, this series has had such an impact on my life. This franchise, this story, like I'm blown away at the quality of it, and I think it's prestige television at its best. So, favorite episode and least favorite episode, Peter?
That's a really hard question, isn't it? I really enjoyed last week's episode, but I'm probably going to have to go with episode 5 because it had the mix of action that I like, and it also had the emotional gut punch, which was an absolute devastating episode, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a strong choice. And is there an episode that stands out to you, maybe as weaker than the rest?
Not really. Episode 4, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe it's episode 4. But like I say, it's hard to pick a weak one because they were all very good.
Well, the weakest of this show would be the best, one of the best of any other. Yeah. I think it's sort of how I feel about it. Yeah. Efren, favorite episode, least favorite episode?
God, I'm just looking at all these episodes on the screen. It's so hard to pick just one, so I'm not. I'm picking episode 3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm picking
Okay, that's fair. 3,
and
yeah.
episode 5, and the one scene that got to me is I forgot her name. Excuse me, but when she died, Joel's partner.
Tess. That's
That one
2.
scene at the end when she was when that creature went up to her face, and it exactly showed what's going on. That was one of the best scenes throughout the whole series.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a great one, an original one for this show. Is there? Did you say weakest? Do you have a weak one? One that's like
that episodes 4, that character, the female, the lead character, that wasn't believable to me.
Yeah, Kathleen. Yeah, okay. I think that's fair. Yeah. Luke, favorite, least favorite?
Favorite is hands down episode 3 with Bill and Frank. For me, that was the best piece of television I've seen in the last 10 years. That is absolutely knockout just as a single piece of something to watch on TV. Weakest, I really wasn't that big a fan of episode 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I get why some people liked it. I get the reason why it was there. And I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying that given what we've seen, that would be the weakest.
Yeah. Okay, that's your opinion. That's fair enough. I won't necessarily disagree. Ben?
Yeah, as I said, 3 is the best, and 8 is the worst for me.
Yeah. Okay, that's such a shame. I think I would definitely agree that the David element.
I love how personally affected you are when.
No, it's just some sort of because I'm how happy I am that you generally like the show and like the story and like the characters. That's such an amazing element of it that I'm sort of a bit oh, that's a shame that you that's not something that grabs you particularly. GP, favorite, least favorite?
Favorite's going to be the last episode. Least favorite, I'll have to go with episode 3. It didn't really impact anything for me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not into the mushy stuff, so.
Well, do you know what?
I mean to say, like Bill's in the game for 5 seconds and then he's out, so it doesn't really have real importance to the show.
Okay,
I love how James was like to Luke. That's fine. Everybody's allowed an opinion. Pete says his opinion. Really? The hell's the matter, man?
I'm not getting invited back again.
No, man, that's your opinion. For me, 3 is my favorite by a mile. I think it's just one of the most beautiful love stories ever put to film. And I think part of the reason I love it so much is that it's new. As much as it's amazing to see all these scenes that I love.
Oh no, I get it.
That's the one I got the most because I didn't know where it was going to go and I didn't know how they were going to do it, and I was surprised for quite a lot of it going through. But yeah, no, if it didn't gel with you, I think that's.
I'll tell you what you said though. The worst episode in the series is still one of the best episodes out of any other series. Yeah, exactly. It was a good episode. Yeah. They say Claire cried like a little baby. Yeah.
For me, episode 4, I think I would absolutely. A few of you said episode 4, and I would say that too. Now, I think Kathleen was fine, as in that episode in particular. I think she's better in the 5th one, and she gives this kind of speech about is this kid worth everything, that I think ties nicely into the ending. But it is, and even then, there's amazing scenes in it. I think it develops Joel and Ellie's relationship really well. I think the kind of the moment where Ellie shoots the guy is also great. But it's, I have to pick one. It's going to be that one. Just have a look at the comments there. Episode 3. Episode 4 worst. Yeah. Why?
Just the unrelenting love for this franchise. And just
oh my god, it's the best.
That was for you to have to try and criticize it in any way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
so,
well,
I'm happy. You're happy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So we have a Forgotten Donut. Episode 3 the best. Episode 4 the worst. Yeah, the same as me. Simon, I'm assuming 5 is best and 2 is worst, but I don't know what it means by then the finale. You see, the
Simon's
finale was
just
bad.
changed
ending.
It's
between
Simon,
first, second,
nobody
and
knows.
release.
He's just making his
Don't
own
worry.
format.
Simon's
for
doing
this.
his
Down
own
5,
thing.
4, 3,
Just leave him
2,
alone.
finale.
Forgotten. Everyone is allowed to have their opinion unless it's against episode 3. In fact,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. That's absolutely fair. Fair enough. Yeah. So I think that's the last slide for this season. Anyone have any kind of final thoughts? Anything they want to say before we get into what might be coming?
It's just a great overall season.
Why does HBO? I'm not sure. I don't watch that many HBO shows, but why is it so long between one season to the next? Why isn't it like next year?
It's just expensive. It's to film. You know, they have to
Money,
space some of these
time.
shows out. Yeah, the actors they have involved in it. You know, Pedro Pascal is going to be in very high demand now, I think. Yeah, so
And this is like what? Like ultimately, this is like 4 films.
yeah, exactly, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? And how long films take to, get around to
Yeah,
filming.
they announced the show 3 years ago, and they filmed it 2 years. It's been filming for the last 2 years. Like it was only 6 months ago at wrap filming.
Which is
so-
why I was so pissed off at the ending, because I knew, well, that's 2 to 3 years I've now got to wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. Well, I mean, you could watch a playthrough of the game if you want, if you really want
Absolutely
to.
not. No, I've seen the fucking game now on TV.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of the game, so yeah, as we said, a couple of bits of news kind of leading into season 2 that came up over the last week. More than one season, so I really hope they film them back to back, like season 2 and season 3.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go at least 4 to 5 seasons.
4 to
Just with the
5
amount just with the amount of plot.
in part 2.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. 2 seasons.
Do you
I
not think so?
No,
I thought
I'd
5
be
seasons.
shocked.
let's be honest.
I'd be shocked.
What
So
did you think, Luke? How many seasons did you think?
Well, I reckon that they're going to do the split this as 2 seasons for the second game, but then I figured they would have made a third game by then, so we'll get another 2 after that. So it'll be 5 seasons in total, right?
it's possible, or even if the third game takes a while, they'll bring the show back when it is. My top 3. Worst is 4 and
I
7.
don't think we asked top 3, did we? But never mind.
I didn't ask for 2 worst either, so what can you do?
Cheers, Simon.
Simon just does Simon.
Yeah, he's the one making his own rules, Also, like
Rebel.
HBO's Last of Us season 2 will feature a lot more infected. So yeah, do you feel like there was enough infected stuff in this season?
No.
I'm okay that they wasn't.
Yeah, I am as well.
It's a character-driven show, and you said about it at the top of this show about how the clickers are a genuine threat when we do see them, and that's because they're so sporadic in terms of the sightings and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I think if you start to put more in, then you run the risk of becoming that kind of Walking Dead where they're just expendable and not a threat.
Yeah.
And also, this is going back to the original idea of zombies, what Romero created, where they're just a thing that's there. It's the story is always character driven. It's the survivors that you're following. Over the years, it's become more of like, oh my god, the zombies are attacking the action and everything else. And like Ben said, The Walking Dead. But if you go back to those original Romero movies, especially the first 3, they're character driven pieces.
Yeah.
The zombies aren't the main focus, and that's what's great. This is back to basics.
Yeah. For me, like, I think it could have used literally just one more. Like that David one that I think was missing last week with Ellie and David together. I think if you include,
Well,
You muted yourself.
I'd have very little to complain about with this show. I think
I would like to see Joel go up against the bloater.
Yeah, exactly. Like you fight bloater several times in the game, so you never get a Joel versus an Ellie versus them one. Yeah, for the second game is about 30 hours. 2 seasons should hopefully be enough for game at 2 at least. Yeah, so it's about double the length of the original. So GP will be very vague about this, but do you feel like there's a natural kind of cut point where you say this is one season and this is another?
I don't know. I think I'm trying to say it without spoiling anything. Yeah, I suppose you could. I suppose you could do that. Do it like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably about halfway through the game would be a good point.
Well, that's the thing. The game is twice. Like to be vague, you feel at a certain point in the game that you're kind of at the end, and then surprise, you're halfway.
What you
And
mean
yeah.
is that you need the season to have an ending.
And
So
you,
that-
exactly, because
it's
you would
worth
be
to
leaving
watch.
you'd be leaving a cliffhanger hanging for 2 years potentially if you do it that way.
But the thing
So
with
I
that, James, is you could, where that cutoff point is in the game, you could intersect the rest of it, like mesh it together, so it makes one story.
So they run
If you get-
concurrently.
Yeah,
We could really mess
Yeah.
with the audience and just cut it midway through an action scene, and that's the end
Well,
of the season.
but that's
Yeah.
then that's what I mean. That's what it potentially could be if you do that.
Black.
Yeah. So I gave Ben, you kind of joined a bit last minute, but I gave everyone else a bit of homework to watch the kind of reveal
this
trailer.
James,
the second-
Damn it.
this
Yeah.
upset me straight away. This is a spoiler, right? Because now we know she learned to play guitar.
Well, that's the thing. So the guitar playing is a big element of the second game, but yeah, Joel did in fact teach her to play guitar. So this is just the reveal trailer. This came out 3 years before the game launched. I'm not going to give myself any spoilers for the game or tell you about this, much about the story at all. This is just like the earliest.
I remember
thing we
watching
saw
this
about it.
when it first came out, this trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the
I didn't care
time
then.
we weren't sure. What do you care now?
A little bit more.
A little bit more, exactly. Yeah. So, so the trailer kind of starts you hear Ellie kind of, blood dripping on her face, dead bodies everywhere. She's kind of playing this song of the crowd. That song is "Through the Valley" by Sean James, which is how I became such a fanatic of his music. It's my favorite song. But Joel kind of walks in and she turns to the camera and says, like, I'm going to kill every last one of them. So if you thought this one is dark, part 2 is like unrelentingly dark. Like it's one is like happy moments that are cut short by sadness. 2 is just sad. 2 is just all sad and depressing. Like it's a very divisive story, and a lot of people hate it, and I think some of you are going to hate it. Honestly,
good. Didn't look for it.
well, that's the thing. Like, it entirely depends on whether a certain thing clicks with you or not. And there was, at the time this came out, this kind of wave of like toxicity. Like, it's exactly what happened with Star Wars, where people, that's how bad it got. Like, actors were getting death threats, writers were getting death threats, that kind of stuff. And I feel it's been nice in the last like 8 weeks that there's been so much positivity about the show and about the series again, because it's been so bad for the last 2-3 years. And I just feel this like looming thresh of like, it's going to happen again now when
100%
of this show comes back, and it'll be more intense because there's more people. So like, it's curious. But like, Peter, what do you think of this trailer, and what do you is there any elements of it you're like excited to see explored in the
I thought the music was shade.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. It was good. It didn't give anything away, I don't think, other than there's the massacre kind of thing. We don't really know who she's talking about. I'm assuming it's not clickers. She's either fireflies or somebody else that's come into the town or whatever. So yeah, it was a nice little teaser.
Yeah, Efren, did you give this a watch? Did you?
I think I think this shows that the commune didn't survive. That they're going back to where the brother is, and I think this is my predictions. Obviously, I never played the game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd love to hear what you think. Like,
she's going to find out that she may be a cure. And I think there's going to be conflict between her and Joel.
Like, she'll find out Joel's lying. You mean?
Yeah, I think she's going to find out. Somehow she's going to find out Joel's lying. I think like the commune, like I said, is gone, and if the commune, the story would end happily. They all live, happily ever after. And that's not the case with apocalyptic shows,
Yeah. Luke, what do you think of, and before you say anything, you mentioned earlier about people will see her arm. She gets a tattoo. It's a very kind of iconic bit of imagery from the game of like it's sort of like a plant with like a moth going around it.
Okay.
So she covers it up, so that's kind of
clever idea.
Yeah.
So this trailer sent me spiraling. You know what I'm like. I overthink. And I honestly, I only know one spoiler about the game, which I actually found out accidentally yesterday, which I won't say. And it's got nothing to do. It's got nothing to do with my other thoughts about what this trailer showed.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say them out loud, and they are a bit dark, so please bear with me.
Okay.
It all depends as well. Like, it depends how much of a time jump we've had.
So it's 5 years later.
5 years, right?
Ellie's 19, yeah.
So with her
Not
sitting there,
spoiling
literally
it.
turning.
No, the trailer, they told you when this trailer came out, that's 5 years later.
So with Ellie turning to Joel and saying, "I'm going to kill them all," means that obviously something bad has happened. And with my mind spiraling, it's either that they're in this community and people that they care about over these 5 years have now died and been murdered or whatever from these people that have come in and taken what they want.
Yeah.
Or it goes darker than that. And, you know, because Joel's there and because she's still alive, it can only be some form of abuse. And if it's her tormentors that she's after. You're saying it's all very controversial, and that would be the most controversial thing I could think of.
I will say that second thought had crossed my mind prior to this coming out, so I won't say whether that was correct or not, but it's we were thinking alike anyway. But yeah, so part 1 is about love. Part 2 is kind of an exploration of hatred. I think that's kind of like the best way to kind of sum it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see what you are going to think about it. We'll be back in 2 years to talk about it. Yeah, looking forward to going through that hatred again. It's going to be great in the IGP. Just Twitter people being bastards for 9 weeks while the show's running.
Yeah. Good news is though, Bella Ramsey can play the guitar.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when she was cast. That's something I kind of brought up in a video I did. Was that she can play guitar, so we'll see her singing. And there's a few kind of moments.
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
That's
like
all
she,
right.
you know, there's a scene where they take on me like on the guitar, and like you know, there's a couple of Joel on guitar bits as well. So like I'm looking forward to seeing those in live action. For Gundam, the second game was a real last. I think that's exactly the right point of reference. It's the Last Jedi, so you'll love it or hate it. A divisive piece of media that I love and other people are wrong about. So I'm 50-50 on Last Jedi, but I think this is going to be a love or hate thing.
Does it have Babu Frick in it? Because then
no, I don't believe he shows up at any point.
I'm out.
Right. Yeah. So just that's everything on The Last of Us. So just before we go, there's a few other kind of PlayStation Productions kind of things coming up, and just kind of I'll show you guys and see if any of you are excited for any of them. Ben, I know this is one you're kind of keeping an eye on, Twisted Metal. So this is going to be
Metal.
We're doing Twisted Metal. So this is going to be on Peacock. It's filmed and everything. It's going to be this year. It stars Anthony Mackie, Nev Campbell, Stephanie Beatrice, and Thomas Hayden Church. Will Arnett and Samoa Joe are kind of joint playing this clown on fire. Sweet Tooth is his name.
Yeah,
the iconic kind of character of this game. So sort of like the games are like a car combat game, but it's sort of like this post-apocalypse. It's almost like a mix between like Death Race and I know Pokemon. It's sort of like a mix between Mad Max and Death Race with like a bit of Friday the 13th thrown in. I think is like what the show is probably going to be.
Just on that, have you seen the original Death Race? Not the horrific Jason Statham one.
No, I've seen the Jason Statham one. I haven't seen
the original.
What's your original?
Is I'll give that
well
a
worth a watch.
Yeah, I'll try that. So, Ben, this is one you're kind of keeping an eye on. You're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the cast alone is fantastic, and then Mad Max meets Friday the 13th. Sign me the fuck up.
Yeah,
yes, please.
GP, you played this one?
Yeah, I remember playing this on PC way back. It's a really good game. So I'm going to be interested to see how they do this.
It was an interesting one, like because it's not a story focused game at all, but it has
not at all.
It has a great like universe and some really cool, particularly Sweet Tooth, but some good characters. Yeah. So, and like Anthony Mackie's like a huge actor.
Oh, definitely.
As well. So like that'd be one. So that's Peacock. So I we'll see this get kind of, I think, an underground kind of following rather than being like as big as The Last of Us.
I'll either sink or swim this one, won't it?
It's got the budget on this for the star power alone, but then when you look at some of the special effects and things that are going to be needed,
I guess that's what worries me with it being Peacock and.
Yeah,
because it could.
Well, Peacock had Chucky, and Chucky was quite good production value, I think. Even though like the animatronics,
not like post-apocalyptic like level.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think we'll get a trailer very soon, like probably in the next month or so. So I'm really curious to actually see it. I won't be doing because I'm not really. I played the games, but I'm not like a super big fan. So I'll do probably a first episode, last internally. I might do first episode.
Oh,
This
nice.
episode
I like that, James. That's a nice name.
this one.
It's a really good idea, that.
Yeah. I'll probably do something like that on this, just so that, because like I just won't be able to come up with enough things to talk about week to week on it. So yeah, this one I'm looking forward to anyway. Peter, I think this is one you're gonna fall in love with. Absolutely. So this is called God of War. So huge video game franchise, kind of been running since the PS2 games. So it follows this kind of this Spartan general, and he kind of gets tricked into servitude with the kind of Greek gods, and he goes on kind of this big epic revenge tale. But the show, it's from Amazon. It's going to be based mostly on the fourth game, which is kind of a reboot, and it's Kratos, the main character, with his son, who kind of grew up between games, and explores the kind of Norse pantheon, and there's fights with, like, you know, Thor and Odin, and kind of Ragnarok plays an element in that. So Peter, I think you're going to love this one. I think if this was on HBO, I would say this could be as big as The Last of Us. Like, I think that God of War game they're basing this on has a better story than The Last of Us Part 2, and so I think it's a better game. So I was
just going to wonder if they do the Greek stuff in flashbacks.
That's why I think it's going to be like Arrow, where they have a 5-10 minute flashback every episode or something like that. Because there's so much backstory to go through. Like, it's
loads, isn't there?
Yeah, tons, like 5-6 games worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to be a really cool one. Efren, is this something that kind of you're interested in? Looking at it.
When it comes out, you know, if you remind me, I'll watch it. You know, so.
Yeah.
If you wake him up.
This is one I will do an episode per episode review on. So like, yeah, we'll have a similar kind of falling in love with this franchise kind of thing as I have to come up with another name. I don't know, for like a Greek mythology style.
And I will cosplay Kratos.
The Ghost of Sparta.
That'll be a sick cosplay, Ben. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I have not watched Andor yet. I will.
What are we even doing here now?
I got 3 weeks till Celebration, man. I'll get there. Right. Next up, we have Horizon Zero Dawn. So this is from Netflix. This is going to be on Netflix, which has me worried already because they tend to cancel things like 2 seasons in. But it's set like 1,000 years after like a Skynet style apocalypse, and it's like people have like it's the first generation of humans that have come back, and there's kind of resorted to tribalism, but there's like kind of technology that they get from these kind of robot dinosaurs that go around the world, like loads of robot animals. Really amazing, like aesthetic to it, and the sci-fi elements are great.
It's going to be CG heavy. They're going to have to do it right.
It'd have to be, yeah. I think like they need kind of a volume style thing to film this. I feel, but like the creature designs in it, like it's got a really great story. The protagonist is one of my favorites. Aloy, it's just so charming. So they'll have to have a good cast for it anyway, but like it's a really cool universe anyway. I'm looking forward to this one. This is another one that could be big. You know, Netflix shows do often blow up, so we'll see. Anyone kind of this pique anyone's interest?
I have the I read the comic books on this. I bought the issues.
Have you? Yeah, I've read them too. There you go. Yeah, it's a good one. It's kind of in between the first and second game. So
I watched the walkthrough for the first game because obviously I've got an Xbox and it's only PlayStation's exclusive. So yeah, it's a good game.
Second one was my game of the year last year. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Like they're open world kind of RPG ones. But just that mix of like tribalism and technology, I think is a really fascinating one. And visually, it's going to look stunning, I think. So those are all the shows, I believe. They have a few movies coming out. So Ghost of Tsushima is a kind of Akira Kurosawa style samurai story. Chad Stahelski, who does the John Wick movies, is directing that. So it's going to have some really good. It's going to have some really good action. Apparently, he wants to do it in Japanese, and he might do it in black and white. So it might be like a proper Kurosawa homage movie, but with like John Wick level action. So I think that sounds really cool.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that'll be one I'm excited for. He has so much on his plate, though. I don't know if he'll ever actually get to this. Like he's signing up for movies all the time. Hopefully it gets made, though, because it's a really great story and really great universe. Gravity Rush is sort of an anime style superhero story. Like it's in this world that's kind of like steampunk-ish, but it's like a mix of like French and Japanese culture. And it's about this girl who can manipulate gravity, so she can like fall upwards basically, and she has this like magical interdimensional space cache called Dusty, that she does that with. So it's going to be live action, which I think is weird. I think it would have made a great anime, and that's an anime I would watch. But like, it's going to be live action, so I'm curious how that's going to work.
Sabrina.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this, even in the game, like, they don't speak English. They speak like a made-up language that's like a mix of Japanese and French. But it has such so much charm to it. Like, I love those games, like the passion. So curious if that'll translate into live action. Days Gone is sort of another post-apocalyptic one, sort of a mix between The Walking Dead and Sons of Anarchy. It's like a biker gang.
That's going to be a movie.
It's going to be a movie. It stars Sam Witwer. Sam Witwer stars in the game, but it's going to be a different actor for the movie, unfortunately, because I think he's really good in the game. But yeah, it's like apologies. It's sort of a shame. It's a shame that they're not bringing Sam Witwer back, but also, like, I think this would make a better TV show than a movie.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. But it's also very tonally. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities in setting and tone to The Last of Us. It's just maybe not as prestigious. So, like, we'll see how that one goes. And then Gran Turismo is out this year. So this is going to be Orlando Bloom and David Arbor. Gran Turismo is like a Formula One style, like, kind of racing game. But
one of my favorite games on the original PlayStation was Gran Turismo. Yeah.
So yeah, it's based on a true story. It's about a guy who played Gran Turismo and he went on to become an actual Formula One driver.
Yeah, that was me.
Martin, bro. Was it? Yeah, Jan. Hi, Jan. Nice to meet you. Yeah. So that's directed by Neil Blomkamp, and that's out this year. So that's going to be like August, I think. So it's not too far away. So that's the last one. I'm gonna review it, boy. Yeah, that'll be my God of War. I'm gonna steal that. Actually, that's gonna be my God of War one. Yeah, missed out Gears of War. We're just talking PlayStation, Simon. Go with the program. There's also Tomb Raider stuff coming, but I'm not talking about it here because it's PlayStation Productions. And that's everything. So, guys, what have you got coming up on your channel? Or is there anything here that particularly sticks out to any of you? It's like, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
God of War looks really interesting.
Yeah, you'll love that, Peter. I'm certain of it. Efren, any of them stick out to you?
The Ghost one, you said is by the same people who did John Wick. You said correct?
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
Curious to see how that
Samurai.
one. Yep.
Yeah. Luke, any of these kind of strike you?
I'll not say that any of them particularly jump out to me, but knowing what I've heard about God of War, then I'll certainly give that one a watch.
Yeah, this should be good.
If Ben does Kratos cosplay, I'll do Thor cosplay because I reckon I can pull that off.
Yeah, he's ginger.
Yeah, he's ginger and he's got a large guts, isn't he?
I'll lend you my hammer. You can take that.
Yeah.
Ben, Twisted Metal, I'm assuming, is the one you're kind of.
Yeah, but none of them I care about really. But like, I'm willing to be persuaded otherwise. Well, Last of Us I didn't really care for, but like,
exactly, yeah.
I'm on board now. So yeah.
God of War has like the same kind of things going for it. Like it's an amazing story that's going to be based on, and one of the creators of the game is also involved. So like, hopefully that kind of turns out as good. GP, any of them kind of stand out to you? You're looking forward to?
Yeah, out the movies, Ghost of Tsushima, and the series, I'd go for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, Horizon should be a cool one. For me, like God of War, I think it's the one I'm most excited for. But Ghost of Tsushima, Chad Stahelski movie, I did like a whole video just on that when that was announced. So like that's one I'm really geared up for anyway. So guys, that's everything. Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we talk about what's coming up in our channels? Groovy. Alrighty.
I love PlayStation.
Yes. Patronizing. Peter. Can you explain kind of what's on?
What was it? Oh yes. So I'd said that I was going to do this next Friday, but I completely forgot that I'm going to see John Wick next Friday, so I'll not be doing it.
Okay.
So I might try and squeeze a one in this weekend or something, Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure yet. But basically, the Friday Night Live show might be Saturday Night Live. We're going to cover the Geek Report stuff, what you've been watching, what you've been buying, and what you've been reading. So just a general kind of chat. But I'll try and squeeze that in probably this weekend. Thursday, I've got this 1/6 scale Deadpool figure coming out review. So that will be out this Thursday.
Nice.
Oh, yep. And next Monday, we're going to be talking Batman villains. So we're going to be doing our top 3 favorite Batman villains each. And we're also going to do our least favorite Bat villain each. So that'll be next Monday at 8 o'clock.
Stoked for to talk about that. I love
be
Batman
fun.
villains. So yeah,
I did a little Instagram thing as well. I got a lot of interaction from that. So lots of interesting characters came out.
Nice, yeah. Just have from Forgotten Dawn of Gravity Rush is so overrated. Absolutely, I think it's the most underrated PlayStation franchise. Definitely. Luke.
Yeah, so this is my latest YouTube video that I've done with my good friend here, Mr. Triple G himself, making sense of pence, a subject very close to my heart. Really hoping to do more of these. This is something that I really do enjoy. We're very lucky here in the UK that we have so much variety when it comes to comics of this time. So yeah, if a bit of comic book history and some major keys and some minor keys interest you, then head on over and give that a watch.
I'm only going to do more of those, Luke, if I can pose in the same manner as you and get in the thumbnail.
Absolutely.
I'd pay to see that.
And then this is my latest Go Collect article where I wanted to take a look at the Amazing Spider-Man 1994 animated series and basically ask the question of whether or not Disney will potentially bring it back. We already know they're going to be bringing back the X-Men. And I think this is one that fans really do want to see.
I will be stunned if in Spider-Verse there's not a bit where they go into the 90s show universe.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're hiding that. That's going to be like a big surprise in them, but hopefully. But yeah, great article. I gave it a read the other day. It was good. So yeah, I definitely agree. So this is for me. I was on, if you remember back at episode 5, we had a guest on Dustin. So this is his podcast, Adaptapals, which I joined them for yesterday. So the episode's up today, and we're just kind of talking The Last of Us, the whole season, spoilers. There's some spoilers for part 2 as well at the end if you played that and you want to kind of hear some thoughts about what they might do for that season. So that was really good fun. So I appreciate those guys. Yeah, and I'll check that out. The link for that is in the description down below. Efren?
Top picks, this month's top picks are the ones Peter and I do. Actually, we just did our taping an hour or 2 before we did this one. So it's going to be on his channel next time around. And comics are in our DNA is just a continuation of that, just talking about books.
Yeah. Nice, yeah. And yeah, Forgotten Dawn, a great podcast, definitely not biased, and he absolutely has nothing to do with that podcast at all. So thank you, Forgotten Dawn. GP?
Yeah, hairy tits. It's on the Destroy All Movies channel, Werewolf Woman. I've just put first episode of Visionaries on there today. And on the GP Venom channel, you can go back and watch the Ice Cream Man review, Volume 1. And this Friday, I'll be reviewing Fantastic Four, Volume 1. So,
very nice. Yeah. So I'd recommend. So the link for everybody's channel is in the description down below. And Ben, I don't have a thumbnail, but is there any kind of stuff on your channel or you're going to be doing lately you want to talk about?
So I dropped my brand new logo and sort of branding over on my Instagram today. So if you head over there, you'll see that. And my sort of channel is fairly ad hoc, to be honest. I just kind of go live whenever there's enough to talk to people about. So this week there isn't really so far, so I don't think I'll be going live this week, but maybe next week for a spontaneous geeky gas bag show. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right, and again, this in the description down below, you can find the link. So, guys, thank you so much for doing the show, and I want to thank everybody who has appeared kind of on these over the last 9 weeks, especially Peter and Efren, who have not missed a single one. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's been watching. Whether you're on the rewind or commenting in the live chats, whatever, just thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's surreal because I've talked about the show since the start of my channel, and now it's over, and I can not stress about about it. I can talk about something else, so I'm gonna have to find something. I don't know what to do. Yeah, so thank you everybody, and remember, until next time, until 2 years from now, I would assume, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light, endure and survive. And we'll see you next time.